There's like the artist side of me, and then there's like the entrepreneur businessman. I would say it's more like 60 to 70% entrepreneur mind, and then that 30% is kind of like that stress relieving artist life. Ideally, I would kind of like that to flip, and that's what NFTs has actually brought, is the ability to kind of take a break from the entrepreneur stuff. In Web3, it's more of a community. It's really more about the art. All right, what's going on, guys? My name is Jeff Cole. I'm a digital artist and co-founder of IKONICK. My journey as an artist started quite early, at the age of 6 or 7 years old. When I started doing art fairs at the age of 11, I did AP art in high school, majored in illustration in college, and kind of as a way of survival, I picked up digital art as a way to earn money because I was, a broke college student. In 2014, I decided to learn Photoshop. And, as a way to learn Photoshop, I kind of just randomly thought of a concept to start, that process. And that was around February 2014 when Kanye West was dropping the Red October sneakers. And for some reason, I'm just like, well, let's try to make Kanye's face out of the Red Octobers as a way for me to open Photoshop, play around and see if I'm any good at this. So then 2 years later, when the 350 Boost came out, which is probably the next biggest sneaker drop, and I'm like, let's try that concept again, and I'll post it on Instagram and see what happens. But this time, it went viral, so everyone picked it up. And then every day after that, I think for a couple of years, I did sneaker art, and I just kept gaining followers and followers and followers, and this was a way for me to break out as an artist, through content in a culture that was kind of dying for something new. That's kind of how all the sneaker stuff happened. And then I started getting brand deals, started working with, Nike, Adidas, and other, tertiary sneaker brands like that. I moved to California to go be roommates with Mark, my business partner, in 2015. I remember one day I just came home from work and Mark was already home, and for some reason we're just like, let's start something on our own. I brought all my artwork from Chicago that was hanging on my walls to Carlsbad, San Diego, and we were looking on the wall. We're like, well, why don't we just sell art? Let's just sell some stuff on Instagram and see if it works, and we'll call it IKONICK. So we made it, and I made like 3 or 4 pieces. A couple of them went viral, and we sold 12 pieces the first, I think, couple hours, which for us was massive. In 2017, March 2017 is when we finally figured out what digital marketing was. And we started putting money behind it. And then, we started selling 12 units in an hour. And then, 50 units a day, then 100 units a day, then 200 units a day. Fast forward to today, we have, tons of licenses, Monopoly, Peanuts, Michael Jordan, over 1,500 IKONICK pieces out in the world. And now we're kind of looking at the next thing, and how do we take this digital marketing in Web 2 that had paid spend behind it, and then kind of do it in a Web 3 way, which is completely different, right? It's, there is no paid ad spend, and instead of an audience, you're now developing a community.
The most exciting thing for me personally was when we started IKONICK. I was the customer service for the first 4,500 orders. I learned everything about a business then. Now with launching Sneaks of Nature, we're kind of going back to our roots, man. I think the new way of thinking is community-based, where you build loyalty with this tribe. So for us, we're just putting all of our efforts into building our community one by one, from a one-to-one interaction.
How do we, market in this industry, and how do we take what we learned in the past and kind of bring it into this new form of, user behavior? So those Sneaks of Nature is interesting because in January, we set up a bunch of these Zoom calls with a bunch of our early fans, and we would do, 3 or 4 of those every day with like 20 people, and kind of like a focus group. And we just drilled them with questions like, why are you in this space? Who are you following? How did you learn about us? And the common theme was sneaker art. I'm a sneakerhead, I love sneakers. So I took the time to really think about, evolution of my style and what would that look like and how does that fit into this Web3 space. So I'm like, okay, let's try my sneaker style in like 2D illustration, but also have it be inspired by all the identity that was in Web3 already. Coming up, we have Bored Apes, we have, Cool Cats. So there's this theme of animals and symbols. There's a lot of things here, and I'm a big movie buff, so I'm like, there's a really unique way to kind of create a story around this. It's inspired by E.T. and Jurassic Park and Small Soldiers and all these amazing sci-fi films that I'm just taking little pieces of inspiration and turning it into this massive franchise with toys and clothing and making it kind of one of the first interactive movies where our community members are going to feel like they're contributing to the narrative. It's going to be 3,333 units. Every character is going to be animated. Your sneak is going to have its own personality. Shy, aggressive, happy, angry, tired. Everyone's going to get, a certain sneak that really feels unique to them. All the characters are inspired by different lessons, that I've learned throughout my entrepreneur journey, which has been, a very wild ride and turning just an artist who is an emotional, broke artist into this, I would like to think, experienced, savvy entrepreneur. I'm bringing all that to play, and our community is really resonating with it.
Over the last 15 years of my business career, I've done partnerships and executed licensing deals with different individuals, whether it be Gary Vee, Damon John, Matt Frazier, or brands and brand conglomerates from the NBA to Muhammad Ali. And I'd like to think at this point I'm pretty seasoned in licensing period. So now it's just great to really just see the stuff that we liked and didn't like, and then we're just reshaping it to what we think is the best formula moving forward.
We're optimizing everything so that this franchise has the best chance to succeed. Basically, I wanted you to really have an experience through this process.
I've been working with Jeff now. I've known him for 10, 12 years. We've been business partners for 5, 6 years. I've never seen him work this slow and this methodical and really take his time on everything. It's been now 6 months where he's been developing and slowly dripping out the story and the characters, ultimately to really create that emotional connection with our community. I think that's going to serve us really, really well. And I'm just excited for the world to see how talented he is. He really, really deserves it. So super excited about that.
There's like the artist side of me, and then there's like the entrepreneur businessman. I'm never too much in the artist mindset. Ideally, I would kind of like that to flip, and that's what NFTs has actually brought, is the ability to kind of take a break from the entrepreneur stuff and the Web 2, marketing. Because obviously in Web 3, it's more of a community. It's really more about the art and the artist rather than conversion and digital marketing and ad spend and stuff like that. So this has really allowed me to go back into my artist phase almost somewhat full time. I'm really bringing everything to the table here. I'm bringing in my directing, my storytelling, my copywriting, my illustrating, just everything that I've ever experienced as an artist and entrepreneur. I'm trying to feed into this project to be like my masterpiece and something that hopefully lasts a lifetime for me, and not just a project that lasts a week and I'm on to the next thing.